Hi everybody, it's Laura here, just checking in on a Saturday afternoon. Gail and I have just sat down we're in her basement, in the really comfy living room area here where we set up our rug hooking. So I'm working on the flower pot, I think it's called flower pot, or I don't know what it's called. This pattern that I've shown.
You can get close.
And we're just gonna, spend the afternoon here doing some rug hooking. I'm about
Can you show them how you hook?
85% done with this rug. Sure. So with hooking, this is what we call a worm. It's a very, very thin piece of boiled wool that has been cut in our
With our cutters
over here. And essentially, you take the worm and your hook, which is just like a crochet hook. I prefer this style of a hook, which is called a pencil, but there's all different styles of hooks. Some have a little fat ball on them. Some are, more like a eggplant shape, but I prefer this pencil shape one. So you take your worm and your hook, you put one hand on the underneath and one hand on the top, and you find where you want to start. You poke your hook through, and you bring up the worm. So you set a little tail there, and then you just go hole by hole, feeding
inch by inch.
hole by hole, inch by inch, and you feed up the worm into your hook. It takes a little bit to kind of get going with it, but you kind of learn to feel for the worm, and you bring it up one hole at a time, one loop at a time, and you just kind of work along like that. Once you have finished where you want to hook, so let's say I wanted to end there. You bring it all the way up through. You always end with your yarn on top. And then we've got these really nice scissors here. These are a pair of gingers. And they are that special shape that kind of bends down. That way you can get it really close to your rug, and you cut the worm. And you trim it off, and it's nice and even. So those are a really important tool to have, along with your hook and your cutter, of course.
And your frame.
And your frame, the actual frame that this is on. Gail will talk about her new frame. Mine is a small one. It's called a Snapdragon. And you tighten the linen over the frame so that it's kind of like taut like a drum, so that you can get a nice even tension with your worm and have the pile be even.
Laura,
So
can you lift this up so I can look underneath it just to see the
sure.
frame?
Yeah, absolutely.
There we go. And this you call
And
a
actually
Snapdragon?
I can even take it off, yeah, and show the frame itself. So this frame has these four sides, and these things here are pointy. They're very pointy. It's called a gripper, so it's like a metal comb. And when you stretch the material over those, it hooks in, like Velcro almost. And this particular frame, called the Snapdragon, has these little levers here. So when you put the lever down, whoops, you see how it moves that gripper just a little bit? That's what tightens it up. So you tighten up each side, all four sides, and that makes the workspace like a drum. So you can see it's a pretty small workspace that I have here. Maybe like 2 feet by, I don't know, 1.5. I'm not really sure, but it's a small workspace. So you have to kind of move the rug around as you're working on it, and work at little spaces at a time. So that's it. Yeah.
All right, let's move over to Gail.
Thanks for visiting.
Hello, friends. So I am also hooking with my friends. You can show my friends here. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Ray.
Yes.
We love you.
We always have on our friends.
We always have someone
while
on.
we're hooking.
Yes, and we love them. So, anyway, so I am working on a new rug I just started, and I showed a bit of it in my last, in our last podcast, but I've gotten a little bit more done. This is the biggest endeavor I've taken on. This one happens to be 90 by 70.
That's
So
a big rug.
it's a pretty big rug. So I got myself this new frame, and I love it. I actually, in our last podcast, if you watch it, there's a picture of it in there. I had Ilaria put a little picture in.
Episode number 5.
Episode 5. So yeah, so as Laura said, you know, I like this workspace for this size rug, and what's really nice is that there are levers, like little knobs here, and I can tighten it so that when the rug, the more wool that you put onto this, obviously the heavier the rug becomes. So it tends to, like Laura's right now, it pushes your rug down. Like if you have all your work down there, and so it's like this, and you're always fighting with it. So with this, I can lock the sides in, and it's really comfortable to work with. We always work with these lights because sometimes it's hard to see. Depending on the cut of wool that you're using, Paul showed you these, like you can see here how skinny these little pieces are. That's going to cut you a skinny little piece of wool to go in small spaces. And then if you look at this wool cutter, these are much bigger. That's actually a number 5, and that will go in for bigger spaces. But you know, it's a lot of different things. The other thing that I use is a magnet here. I have one on the top and I have one on the bottom. So as I'm working, I can like leave my scissors there and they don't go flying. I do a pencil hook like Laura. I have a long one and a short one, just depending how my hands feel. This is my absolute favorite hook. I picked it up at a rug hooking school and I really, really like it. But yeah, if anybody is interested in rug hooking, and you're, well, it doesn't even matter. Laura and I go all over the place, but if you're interested, there's a couple of, I know there's one school coming up that's not full yet, and that's in September. So, you know.
What's the name of that school?
That's Country Inn Rug School, and you can actually look it up. It's Country Inn Rug School in Ringe, New Hampshire, and it's in September. And I believe there's a couple of spots left open, so you don't have to have any skill set. They'll teach you there. It's kind of fun. So that's kind of it. This is what we do on when we're not knitting, we're hooking. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. Happy Easter to everybody. And yeah, we'll see you next week on Saturday. Take care.
Thanks for checking in.
Thanks for checking in with us.